If I could just sit down with you and we could talk just one-on-one, and if I could do anything for you, if you would say, John, what is it that you could do for me that would help me to be successful in life? The thing that I would do for you, if I could, is I would teach you how to think correctly. You see, the largest gap between successful and unsuccessful people in life is the thinking gap. I'm not talking about being smart. I'm not talking about an IQ. I'm talking about how you think, how I think. Successful people think differently than unsuccessful.
So if I go and I stand in front of thousands of people and I ask, how many of you want to be financial independent? Everybody puts their hand up. But when I ask how many are, most everybody puts their hand down. 1% or less actually make financial independence. And if you ask them what are they going to do if I gave them $10 million, what would they do with their life? I guarantee you 2 to 8 million, I've done it thousands of times, 2 to 8 million of that would be spent in less than a minute. If you ask them what would they do if they had $10 million, they'd write down all the things. They'd buy that car, they'd buy that trip, they'd buy this. And it was all consumers, all depreciables, all devaluing. As long as they spend their money on depreciables and consumables, they really don't have a real desire for building wealth. They have to invest it and buy things that appreciate value if they want to be wealthy. And people who don't have those values aren't going to get there. So you either have to shift the values and stair-step the values up and have a higher value on wealth building if you want that, or you're setting yourself up for the ABCDs of negativity, expecting yourself to get something that's not going to happen.
Has your family ever used a phrase like, how the other half live, when they talk about rich people? Yeah. You know what it's like? It's like rich people are a different species. The way that I'd like you to look at the difference between where you are and wealth is I want you to look at it as a curve. Because if it is a curve, you can move along that curve. You can go from where you are now to your goals. But if you buy into that thinking that says rich people are just a different species, then instead of a curve, there's just a chasm. There's a hole. There is an absolute void between where you are and where you want to be. And if you don't believe that it's possible to move along that transition, you don't act in ways that start to move you there. He talks about the difference between people who fail and succeed in anything. And he talks about how in wealthy families, they teach their children something very different to what is taught in middle class and poorer families. And it's just how to interact with authority. The middle classes and poorer people are taught to fear authority. And it's industrial revolution thinking. You've got to fear the guy who runs the factory because he owns your life. Okay? And it goes like this. Let's take a practical example. They do this one in the book. He says, you're taking your child to the dentist. The middle class family will teach the child that the dentist is God. He has studied for 8 years and he knows everything there is to know. You as the child must shut up, sit down, keep quiet, and even if it hurts, don't cry. Just wait for it to be over. Do whatever he tells you to do. Now, in wealthy families, they approach the exact same situation completely differently. Driving to the dentist's office, they tell the child, the dentist is your friend. He has studied for 8 years so that he can serve you properly. How's that? Okay? The dentist is a resource that you can use. If you have any questions about your mouth, about your teeth, about anything that you want to know there, you must ask the dentist because it's his job to help you. Now take that kind of thinking, that's a simple example, going to the dentist. Take that kind of thinking and amplify it over the next 20 years. Which of those two kids is going to do well in life? You've got one who's taught to fear authority, shut up, keep your voice down, don't make waves, and the other one who's taught the world is there for you to utilize. It's all resources, you can use it to your own ends. Imagine the difference that would make. Represent yourself, and we need to teach our children to represent themselves as well.
Rich people think differently. So what I'm going to put in your head today is a rich people concept so you can get to understand it. The only difference between successful people and not is just how they think. Rich people think different. Quit letting people tell you got to get qualified in another program. You don't need another program to be successful. You need to change the way you think. Here's the deal. All of you have everything it takes to become rich. You just don't believe it.
you get in life, you don't get what you want. You don't even always get your goals. You get your standards. And so what's the standards you set for yourself and your family and your happiness and your business? And for me, it's maxing out. It's that ultimate compared to what I'm capable of.
The starting point in becoming a high net worth individual is the belief that it is possible. That a wealthy person is not a different species, they're just further along on a continuum. They have more education about what brings in money and how to achieve goals than what you currently have. And that's okay, because that represents hope. That means you can learn these things, you can do them. Wealthy people take risks all the time. The middle classes and poor folks take no risks at all. In fact, I heard a phrase the other day that's just been resonating in my mind that says, the middle classes are paralyzed by doubt. They are secure to the point of paralysis. They do not take risks. And of course, the thinking handed down there is get a safe job and let someone else take care of you. Be like everyone else. Here's an obvious thing that has to be said. If you be like everyone else, you're gonna earn like everyone else.
To the pessimist, the glass is always half empty. To the optimist, the glass is half full. Why would the same measure affect people two different ways? Answer: it all depends on how you look at it. Our lives are mostly affected by the way we think things are, not the way they are. The way we think they are affects us most. Your goals are affecting you, whatever they are. Your goals affect your handshake. Your goals affect your attitude, personality. Your goals affect the way you walk, the way you talk, the way you dress. All day long, we're being affected by our goals. Now, some people have goals, but they have such lousy goals. The effect is bad. I asked a guy one time, what are your goals for this month? The guy said, look, if I could just scrape up enough money to pay these lousy bills. That was his goal. I'm not saying it isn't a goal. It's a goal, but it's such a lousy goal, the effect is bad. You don't jump out of bed on Monday morning and say, oh boy, another chance to go out and scrape up the money to pay my lousy bills. See, you don't do that.
So you might want to get honest with yourself. Like, instead of doing this, you're like, I want to be a millionaire, I want to do this. Do you really? Because you can make it happen. You actually can. Look at all the idiots that are making money. You can make money. But you're going to have to roll the clock forward just a year and say, okay, if I'm able to put $1,000 a month against my debt, I'm able to make X amount of dollars a month, I'm able to put X amount of dollars in savings. What do I need to be doing a year from now to make that happen? And what are those habits that are there a year from now that I don't have right now?
For me, I'm curious about one by one, for the 30 people in this room, where's their mindset? Where are they at? Who are they listening to? What are they judging their self-worth and their ambition based on? How are they counting the points? Because when you're a youngster, you're looking at all sorts of different things. You're being affected by all sorts of different voices. And for me, the only thing that worked, even though I was getting D's and F's and all my friends' parents told me I was a loser, even though all my teachers told me I wasn't gonna be anything, even though I didn't have stuff, even though I just was in my own head. I knew exactly who I was. But the thing that I was willing to do was I was willing to work.
Money is not the root of all evil. That's not what the verse says. What does the verse say? The love of money. And it also doesn't say is the root of all evil. It says something down the lines of is the root of many kinds of evil. Now think about what that belief would do to Christian families, people of faith, if it becomes a locked-in belief and it's handed down generation to generation. Money is the root of all evil. Okay, so if I chase it, there's something wrong with me. You can't hold that belief and become wealthy. The two do not work together. And that's one of those things that we need to chuck out. It's a misquote of the original verse, and it's damaging. It does a lot of harm, particularly to people of faith. Money is, the first thing money is not, the root of all evil. The second thing money is not, embarrassing. Could you be rich with a straight face? Time to face that question, because you are on a career trajectory that can potentially make you very wealthy. Could you handle it? What kind of human being would you be once you get there? Yeah? Wealth simply makes you an amplified version of yourself. So what are you? If you're a horrible person, a rich version of you is going to be a horrible person who's able to do more. If you're a good person who likes to help others, a rich version of you will be an amplified version of that.